Right, watcher, welcome back. Okay, now this week I've got some funny shifts, which mean that I've got a very short evenings and I haven't got a lot of time each evening. I like to have about 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the video to get something in the garage, making a video to do something meaningful, but I've only got about sort of half an hour, 20 minutes every night this week. So I'm going to put rapid videos up this week and they're only going to be short, and that hopefully will still get the same amount of work done by the end of the week because I really want this on the road. Okay, so straight into the action. Now this was last night's work. I obviously laid up 2 coats, 2 layers of the very fine matting and an awful lot of resin because I wanted it completely covered without any of the usual little hairy bits. There's a lot of work went into getting the blocks correct so that they're all as defined as they can be with no bridged areas, and that's cool. Now I really wanted to show how to release this off the tyre, which is a process of putting your hand up underneath, kind of like that, up underneath it, and just working your hands along and leaving time. So as you put your fingers up underneath it, lift it off, and you hear it peel, and it kind of just gradually comes off. But what I was concerned about was because it's so thin and there's less resin, there's a lot of resin on it, it's quite brittle and it's very, very thin. You'll see in a minute when we take the bag off, this is almost going to be see-through. It's so thin, and I want it that way because it's got to be very, very light. This is an exercise in making a monocoque, like a monocoque mudguard that's independently strong in its own right. This is just the outer skin, and I was concerned about having it completely dry like it is now. It's not even sticky, it's lovely, and then it cracking and breaking when I come to take it off and get it off the tyre. And that's why last night, after putting the video up online that you guys were watching, I decided that while it was still flexible and it had some movement, I could peel it off without it breaking. So that's an explanation as to why it's already off the tyre. So there it is. It's basically, like I said, put your hand up underneath it and just work your hand along and peel it all off. And there it is. Quite cool. Bit of a mould there. Effectively that is a mould. That's a mould. That's a plug. That's the way that stuff goes. And the only ill effects, if you can see on there, very close on that one, this is what the tyre, I used the spray glue, it was just upholstery glue, and the actual effects are that it's a bit sticky. So it's going to have no ill effects. It's not going to be slippery on the road, it's not going to have any detrimental effect to the riding of the bike, and it comes off with nail varnish remover, acetone, so I'll just wipe that over before I use the bike. That's the only ill effects on the tyre at all. Now, onto this bit. This is a clamshell, and I'm pretty sure that having used this method of putting bin liner material in underneath the seat unit, I'm going to try what worked before, which is just a sharp tugging action. Sniggering already.
I didn't say a word. I was drinking my tea.
Okay. Just snatching it like that to break the grip rather than flexing it too much. Just tug it sharply and it breaks the grip on the resin. Because I don't want to leave, if I can help it, I don't want to leave any of this on here. I want that completely free of bin liner for what comes next. Now it's not, you'll see now that actually the first impression of this is that it's a little bit disappointing. It's breaking there, look, fractured that bit. Yeah, this is the typical, this is what I was a bit worried about, but it's not the end of the world. There we are. Okay, so that little piece is broken out, but I can fiberglass that back in. That's even if I use it. Now, that's, as you can see, extremely volatile, or what's the right word?
Delicate.
Delicate, yeah, unstable, and it's not going to be any good like that on its own. So what I've got to do is put a layer on the inside, and I've got something that I've been looking to use for a long time, ever since it was a friend, Jeff Van Rocco 66, sent it to us as a gift. It was just a load of fiberglass matting that he had left. I've mentioned it a few times, and Jeff wasn't using it. It was going to go out in the bin, so he said, "You want it?" And that's what we've used for a lot of the seat unit. And I've got this woven mat, and I'm going to try and use that tonight just as a quick layer on the inside, and I'll explain as I go. So, but before we do anything with this, I just need a quick trim up, get some of this fluff off of the edges, and then work out a way of mounting this so I can put the inside piece in, because that on its own is not by any means good enough for the job. It needs an inside piece, but let's crack on. Just crashing through the works with it.
Oh. Makes your teeth hurt.
It does. That's why I'm using scissors. Now this finished item, if you look at any pictures of the Ducati Diavolo, you'll see that the one on the back of that and on the BMW GS's is only about that deep from top to bottom. In fact, the science of this that I was baffling on about yesterday, it's exactly that. As the water comes up, it reaches the upright position of the wheel then continues to rotate around and it leaves company. That's where it parts company. You actually don't need much, and I've got all that. So I can trim this down to the center, but I want to try and make good of what I've got to get as much as possible and keep as much of this in place. So where it's quite thin, it has broken up just a little bit, but that's not the end of the world, because I'm now going to line the inside just to give it a little bit of strength before we go any further. So what I'm going to do with this is just lay up a couple of layers in there and treat them as strengthening for the inside, but the idea is not to bury it all the way in. What I don't want to do is push it down inside here. The reason for that is that it's not to thicken it up. It's actually, what I want it is out on the surface like this. I want it as a smooth layer all the way around. It will go in a little bit, but the reason I want it as a smooth layer is that these little holes here, these indentations where the tyre knobbles are, that will then form a box. Each one will form a little tiny box, and it will be a series of boxes all together, and that will make it incredibly strong. Because everybody knows is a plastic, any box made of a hard material is incredibly strong. It can't be moved or flexed, and I'm hoping, I don't know, never tried this before, but I'm hoping it might lend a great deal of rigidity to the spray guard, and then it needs a minimal frame. And the less framework I can put, the more I can make it look like it's just floating on the back of the tyre, the better. That's what I'm trying to go for. It probably won't work, but you never know, it's worth a try. Okay, so let's get some resin knocked up and lay in a little bit of this. Right, again, that quantity is 6 centimeters of hardener, and that's enough. It will dry quicker if you put in more, but you don't need to. I've got all night for it to dry. So the idea is paint that on there, make that nice and wet with the resin, and then stick this matting to it to strengthen it up. And once the whole thing is really rigid and strong, it will take it out in the garden, and then use a disc cutter to get it into an exact shape. There we go. All ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
This is the messiest bit of embossing. It's a bit of a mess, this stuff, but it will trim up. Now I'm just going to try, it may not work, and stick this to the bridges in between, as I said, and not push it down, in the hope that it will stay smooth and give me a nice smooth internal shape to it. And again, this will be just another situation, same as last night. The drying times are going to end tonight's video. Just that's what it takes. It takes time to get it done. So. Well, there we go. That's a thin layer of resin, really heavily soaked in, and as I spread it like this along, it's kept, you can even see through it in places, little puddles inside. It's kept it from going in the little holes. So you've now got a smooth mudguard inside. And I probably will only use, I know I'll probably take, 2 inches out of each side. It only needs to be about that wide because all the water's going to come to the centre of the mudguard and flick off. So hopefully that should be enough. There we go. That's it. That's enough for one night. There we go. In a layer. That will make it a lot stronger, and I've just got to tidy it all up once it's set. This is a messy old business, as you can see. It really is. But there you go. That's the way it is. Shut that. This is the other one. Going to get cleaned up now. So that's it for tonight. Just a little quickie. Going to get this uploaded. And now that that's got a proper, that's almost like Kevlar. Kevlar's just a brand name. Kevlar is effectively this. It's a woven fiberglass rather than the randomly matted stuff which we looked at earlier, which is a lot weaker. This stuff has a mind of its own. This stuff is much better. It will hold it stronger, and once this is set in about 48 hours completely hard, then I'll be able to manipulate that around and cut the centre out to get the right piece and then start making it look good. There we go. That was what it was. Thanks for tuning in. What's Delboy's Garage. Appreciate all your support on this one. Hopefully trying to get this thing ready for the road in about a week.
Don't touch anything.
I'm not growing hair on the palm of my hands. Honest. Matron. Take it easy, righto. See you next time.